Hey guys, welcome back to Are We There Yet? Now, it is not often we have politicians on this show because we ain't prime time. But Minister for Finance and Tánaiste Simon Harris is my guest today. He has been on the political landscape for forever. And there was lots that I wanted to chat to him about. We didn't get to everything, but we covered childcare, the cost of childcare. We covered the social media ban, the onset of AI, his new savings scheme, his proposed new savings scheme for those of us that have 20 grand lying around, the Children's Hospital, when the hell it's going to open, is it going to open, when it's going to open, and also why his kids hate his stupid speeches. His words, not mine. Enjoy the chat. Tánaiste, lovely to have you in studio.
Thank you so
Finally,
much.
We've been trying to get this conversation to happen for a while.
We made it happen.
We made it happen.
Thank you for having me.
Come here, the pod is called Are We There Yet? And that is the question I ask all of my guests at the end of the conversation.
Okay.
Depending on what way the chat has gone and what way we've meandered. But I think asking that question of a politician, are we there yet? The answer is always going to be no, whether it's whatever issue we're talking about.
Yeah, I learned in politics a long time ago that no matter how hard you work, there's never a day that you can fully empty the in tray. By virtue of politics, there's always more to do, isn't there? And there's always issues, there's always challenges.
Wasn't that Bertie's famous line, a lot done, more to do?
Yeah.
Are we allowed to mention him here?
Well, we can mention him. I think he's a nice person. But Michael Noonan, I'll mention him too. He used to say to me, in politics, challenges never go away, they just change. And I think that's really good advice. So you might have, the challenges in our country often change, but there's always challenges. Yeah. And therefore there's always a need for better or worse for politicians, I think.
Yeah, we're always going to need you. So we have a lot to unpack.
Sure.
I want to talk to you about the social media ban amongst many other things. But firstly, I'd love to just chat to you as a parent. We've never really sat down and met before. We've got kids the same age. You're 7 and 4. I'm 8 and 4.
Yeah.
Your wife, Quiva, she's a nurse.
Yeah.
So with all of that going on, she's working full time, you're working full time. How do you manage to stay present for your kids? I was just telling you before we sat down, I have 100 things going on. I am not Tánaiste of the country. I'm not Minister for Finance. And I have a crying child who I sent to school today in a uniform. She should have been in green. The whole school is in green except her, celebrating something green they did in the school. And, it's just hard to keep up with it all.
It is. Life is busy, isn't it? But I think, the honest answer is it's easier some days than others. It is organized chaos, and some days it's just chaos. Yeah. And that's kind of life. We have very, very, very good family support. So I feel extremely lucky. In fact, we couldn't do our jobs or live these lives without that family support. So my own parents live within minutes. My wife's parents live nearby. The bulk of the minding, all of the minding, is done by the grandparents. So we're absolutely
So you're not having to do childcare costs?
No, no. My son is in Eki and does a little bit of childcare after that. But no, principally we're absolutely blessed to have that support. Okay. It also being very honest with the jobs that we both do, it provides. I'm not sure how we'd have the flexibility otherwise, quite frankly, because just the hours that we work and the randomness of it. And when I get called to do something, or, you think you're going to be home at this time and then it ends up being that time. Yeah. So we're very lucky, very spoiled in that sense. But it is great because you see that bond that kids develop with their grandparents, which is very special. Yeah. I think it's very, very special, and it's lovely to see. And they get to do all the nice stuff.
Yeah, and we don't, my husband's parents have both passed away, and then my mom lives in Kerry. My dad is in Dublin. So, we're trying to grab them when we can. Yeah. And that relationship between kids and grandparents, it's a special one for those lucky enough to have it. Like my grandparents, my grandmothers, I'd still say were two of my best friends in the world, and a huge part of my childhood.
Yeah, no, my kids are so lucky that they have their 4 grandparents.
Yeah.
And indeed, when I was a kid, I had my 4 grandparents and a great grandmother for quite a period of time. And it is a very special bond, and you look back on it with great, great fondness. And I'm conscious though that there's so many other people, as you say, don't have that support. And that is a real, real challenge, which is why I'm kind of obsessed with trying to fix childcare in Ireland. Yeah. I think it's a huge issue. It's an equality issue. There's mainly women, because it is disproportionately women. And I knock on whole doors around this country who tell me that they're making career decisions or not making career decisions on the basis of either affordability or access to childcare. Yeah. When I meet employers, they highlight it too. So I think it is one of the biggest, not just social, but economic issues we got to get right. But
and it's in papers obviously today, there was a promise of a €200 per month cap on childcare. More like now 198 per week.
Well, we're going to get there. So, that commitment.
But are we going to get there in time for the budget? No.
No was the answer, but that was never the commitment. So the commitment is we're going to get there over the lifetime of the government. So we have 4 more budgets. I want to see, this will be the first budget I'm going to deliver, but I want to see this budget take a big step forward and kind of show people the roadmap. So by the lifetime of this government, we need to be at €200 per month per child. Now, there are some families already paying that in some parts of the country, in some places, but let's be honest, the vast majority aren't. We have to get it right too, though, because like there'll be people where I live in Greystones, if they're listening to this, they'd be screaming and saying, yes, Simon, I know the price matters a lot, but I can't get a place.
Well, this is it.
So,
it's the access.
If you fix one issue and don't fix the other,
you're
only kind of pretending to help. We got to do this properly. We got to build the entire system. And we've also got to recognize, just like we were chatting, like it's up to the parent where they want to send the child. They're your most precious possession. So your treasured gift, where you're going to send your child to be minded matters. And the government can't tell you it's this model or no model. Some people have childminders who come into the house.
Yeah.
Some people send their kids to a childminder's house. Some people send their kid to a creche. There's loads and loads of different models, and there's no right size fits. There's no one size fits all. It's what works for you. So we've got to. This is a little more complicated than it first sounds, because we've got to build an entire system. Got to make sure the staff are properly paid and supported. Got to make sure they're given the training that they need. Got to get the core funding right. But let me just be really clear: we can do all this. Like this is absolutely doable, and it's one of the big things I want this government to do, because I think it really, really, really matters. I also think it really matters to people in terms of their own quality of life and in terms of their own disposable income. Like for some people, this is like a second mortgage.
Yeah, I mean, and this is the thing. I live in Dublin 8.
Yeah.
And, a lot of the moms that I speak to, it's that pressure every year. It's like, where am I going to get childcare? There's a waiting list. You're number 18 on the list. So how do we begin to sort of fix that system and provide more childcare access?
So in a load of ways. I mean, firstly, can I just say with the ECI years, I think that has been transformational.
Amazing.
So my son has gone through that at the moment.
Yeah, me too.
Kids go into junior infants a hell of a lot smarter than I went in, right?
Yeah.
And they're following a curriculum, and it's really, really good. And that's helping, and that's free, and the uptake is really, really high. We've started now for the first time ever using state money to help build childcare facilities. I meet a lot of people who say to me, look, I'd like to open a creche, but geez, the setup costs are extraordinary. If we can actually start providing the buildings and through the councils, I think that's a big avenue that will increase spaces. And the other thing we have to do, and I really believe this strongly, as we build new schools, we should be building preschool facilities alongside them.
100%.
Because, talk about climate, talk about traffic. If you've got one kid, as you and I do, if you have one kid in school and one kid in preschool, one drop off would be a hell of a lot easier than two.
And I'm very lucky. That's the situation in ours. We have the preschool on the grounds of the school, and it's
make a big difference.
It's a game changer for parents. You know?
Definitely.
You live in Greystones. I know you're very proud of that.
Yes.
Your kids go to school in Greystones. Do you feel that your kids are safe living in Greystones? And I don't just mean in terms of the job that you do, but just in terms of the general day-to-day and how they go about their business.
As in, do I feel children, not specific to my children?
Yeah.
I do. I think we live in a I live in a great community. I'm completely and utterly biased. I've lived there my entire life. I love Greystones. I've seen huge changes in the town over the years. I mean, when my parents moved to Greystones after they got married, I think nearly their parents thought they were, off to the sticks. There was no dart, it was a fishing village. Now it's a vibrant, growing town. But yeah, we feel safe, and I think people feel safe. I mean, there's always, in general, a need for more community Gardaí, and people highlight these sort of issues. But we have a really good community, and even though the town has grown significantly, it still kind of has that village feel.
Yeah.
Everyone says hello to everybody. Everybody makes eye contact. There's that sort of pleasantness as well that I think is important.
Yeah. And for you, I mean, because you've spoken quite openly in the past about, online abuse, about people targeting your home. And, anytime I heard you talk about that as a parent, I went, Jesus, like having to feel that protection for your kids, for your family.
These were the darkest moments I've ever encountered, being honest. And they're the moments that kind of make you think, what the hell am I at here? What is all this about? Because we all do jobs, right? And we all do our jobs to the best of our ability, and people can have different views on how you do your job or I do my job, and that's grand. And most people in this country are really decent. But there was a moment in time, particularly last summer, kind of into last autumn, where there was a very sinister element. I don't even want to call it a campaign, but there was a very sinister series of threats against my family, against my children specifically. That's haunting, to be honest. That's haunting. And even though, let me say, like, country's great, the guards are great, it's not a pity fest. but your primary responsibility is to your kids, the safety of your children. And when you feel that's being violated, you just feel this great sense of powerlessness. And that made me go through a very kind of deep period of reflection last summer.
I can imagine for you and Caoimhe, like you do your job, you love your job, you love politics.
I do, I really do.
And people can disagree with you all they want. People can fundamentally disagree with you. But when that shit gets in the way of your family, that's a game changer.
It is. And what annoys me sometimes is when people kind of differentiate between online and offline threats, because I think that's kind of just, it's not the way the world works anymore, right? So when you, and I said this in one of my victim impact statements that we made to a court, I tried to make the point, I'm trying to understand when somebody sits down at a keyboard and when somebody types a vile, horrific threat against your child, what's going through their mind? Is it that they intend to carry that out? And you always have to presume that in the first instance, right? Is it that somebody's going to actually harm your child? Is it that they don't intend to carry it out, but it may well inspire whatever you want to call them, a lone wolf, somebody, whatever. That's a risk. Somebody else reads that and goes and plants a seed. Or is it thirdly that they just don't give a feck and have no understanding of the bomb that goes off within your home when they press send? And I don't know the answer, but when that arrives and you're sitting on your couch or you're sitting in your kitchen and you get that on your phone, you have to presume in the first instance that it's real. So, we live, like, I love Ireland. And I love Irish people, by the way. And I love Irish people who fundamentally disagree with me too, right? This is the great thing about our country. We can all come into contact with each other. We have a great democracy, genuinely. But we have to think, only across the water we saw 2 politicians lose their lives. And we can't think that we're immune from threats. And I just think we've seen this kind of hardening of discourse.
Yeah.
And it's vile.
Hardening of action on the street though as well, Simon.
Yeah,
my brother is just home from Australia. He moved to Sydney 5 years ago, one of the thousands that left in search of a better life. He got home last Friday, and over the weekend we've had 3 fatal stabbings in Dublin. He was just like, do you know what I mean? I mean, there's a lot. There's a sense of unease that I feel in the city. Like I said his girlfriend is with him, who's not Irish, and they left town on Saturday night at 8:00. They were like, no, we're just gonna go back out to us.
Yeah, it's there's something going on in broader society, which I think should concern us all. There's a level of dissatisfaction, disaffection. I don't mean dissatisfaction with government or politics. I just mean a deeper detachment from societal norms. And yes,
why do you think that is?
I don't know, is the honest answer. As in, I don't think there's one answer. So I mean, yes, we need more Gardaí. We get that, right? Yes, we need to, I think, have a much more efficient court system where, if somebody commits a crime today, they're up in court much more quickly. I think all of that's true. But I think there's something deeper going on as well that worries me, greatly worries me. And it's particularly, and I don't like to target people based on age or gender, but I think there's particularly, and we see this online, younger men, and attitudes towards society, attitudes towards diversity, some disgusting kind of manosphere stuff we saw. I was watching that Louis Theroux thing, which I thought was really kind of, it was very hard watch, being very honest. So I mean, there's something deeper going on, and it kind of brings me back to that point about the online world, where instead of talking things through, making eye contact, people have never been more connected, but yet perhaps they've never been more isolated. And the spread of misinformation, disinformation, that sense that because I don't have this is because of somebody else, and that divisive language. And I think it's something we really have to watch and push back against. It's not who we are as a country. We've done a very good job by and large as a people in not falling into the traps that other countries have, but we've got to be vigilant because we're not immune from it either. And I think that might be some of what your brother was referring to.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about social media then, because I mean, like you just mentioned misinformation online, and I was chatting to somebody on the radio this morning actually who lives in Los Angeles, and he was making the point that whether you flick on CNN or you flick on Fox News, you get a different idea of what's happening in the world. And I think for a lot of us now, we're reading stuff online and we're going, is this factually correct? Is this misinformation? What's going on? We're just so loaded with communication now that it's sometimes it's hard to sort of
100%. And we're also getting our information, even parking misinformation for a second. We're getting our information and our news from a much more disparate set of medium, if you like. So media. So it used to be, and I'm not having any way I go here, but it used to be if you're a politician and you got up in the morning and you went on, I don't know, an RT breakfast show, or you went on the 6-1 News, you'd kind of speak to all of the country. And I'm not knocking those programs, they still have big viewerships, but you're speaking, or listenerships, but you're speaking to much fewer people now in terms of other people who get their news from podcasts, from online media. So we're all much more personalized maybe in terms of where people are receiving their information from. That's a challenge that I think we're all trying to grapple with in terms of how you effectively communicate with different audiences that are choosing to get their information in different ways. And that's before you get into misinformation, where somebody can, let's be blunt, spread a complete lie.
Yeah.
I saw this years ago when I was in the Department of Health, and we were promoting the HPV vaccine. Like, we have a vaccine in Ireland.
Amazing, yeah.
A vaccine in Ireland that could effectively eradicate a cancer that disproportionately impacts and kills young women in this country. We have a vaccine that could, over a period of time, effectively eradicate it. I mean, what an amazing thing to be able to say. And the uptake rates were huge. They were really, really high. And then a campaign of misinformation and disinformation spread online. And it took the amazing Laura Brennan, Lord rest her, a young woman who had cervical cancer, to come out and campaign for this vaccine and to call out all the lies and the misinformation to get the rates back up. But that's just a reminder to me how there can be very real life. Like, people might have decided not to get their child vaccinated on the basis of what was factually wrong information. And that will have consequences in this country into the future. So this is not, so misinformation isn't it's not harmless or consequence free. Far from it. It can have real, but it's hard. Because you're balancing that with people say free speech, and that matters too. But you've got to make sure that people know that the information they're getting on issues is accurate.
And this is the thing. And just when you're talking about that now, obviously the immediate thing I go to is AI, and AI just beginning to take over our entire world. And my sister works for LinkedIn, and as we know, in the last couple of weeks, with Meta letting 350 jobs go to make way for AI, and I just think the speed at which this is happening, the speed at which it's coming, and I think our lack of understanding overall as a country as to how big this is going to be and how unready we are for it. Do you agree?
Yes is the truthful answer, but I don't think we're alone in that. So I agree in the sense that I think this is how a lot of the world feels. So I was in where was I? San Francisco in January of this year, and I met a lot of the kind of AI companies, and a lot of what we're talking about over here in a kind of an abstract, I wonder what's going to happen, is already actually happening in real life. So they're using AI as an example in healthcare. Can't remember all the details, but I mean, they're using it to have an initial look perhaps at some scans. They're using it in terms of reducing, let's call it, bureaucracy or administration in the health service.
I think in healthcare it makes absolute sense. Like, it's going to be a game changer.
So it's like every piece of new technology, there's going to be pluses and minuses. And our job as a country, as a people, I think, is to try and maximize the opportunity and minimize the challenges. But I don't think there's any human being in the world who can sit in front of you and absolutely honestly tell you they know the direction. In fact, I met Sam Altman, the founder of OpenAI, and he couldn't tell me where it was going, or at least wasn't willing to. So this is fast evolving. But I think there are pluses to it as well. And I heard somebody say the other day, I think they're right, I don't want to spread misinformation, but they said there's never been a technological revolution where at the end there weren't more people in employment than at the start. So I think that's a reassuring piece too. Like, jobs will change. There'll be new jobs. There'll be jobs we haven't even thought of perhaps yet. But it is fast moving, and we as a government, we as a country have to, I think, really invest in this. But we also have to decide parameters. There's ethical questions here as well. So it's not just an economic issue.
But it's hard though for those 350 people who are losing their jobs to make way for AI. You know what I mean? Like, for those people to hear that now, that we're not sure where it's going.
Sure.
Like, again, my brother's an accountant. Is that going to be a null and void profession in 10-11 years, or even probably sooner than that, 4 or 5 years? The graduates who can't get...
The graduates are the ones I'm most worried about,
coming out of college and can't get a place. Like, this is very real for a lot of families, and for a lot of people, I suppose, who've gone through, we're in the middle of leaving cert at the moment, but kids who are making decisions about what they want to do in college. Like, these are people who've already done that coming out, and now AI has literally changed and will change in the next couple of years the face of the employment world.
And that is absolutely true, right? But I think it's also going to result in the upskilling. It's going to provide new opportunities. I think it's going to maybe push up the value chain, if you like, employment as well. So I mean, there's going to be swings around about this, and I don't say that in a cold way. Of course, if you're one of the people who've been impacted by this, and many more will, and many more jobs will be created. There's a real impact. I absolutely get that. But I also have to be just honest with people. Like, AI is not going to disappear. We can't wish it away.
No.
Like, it's here, right?
Yeah.
And we've had previous conversations. When the internet came, that was a moment of massive disruption in the world.
But actually, Leo Varadkar, your colleague, friend. I read a piece with him recently. I think it was in the Times, Sunday Times. He was talking about AI, and he was saying that people talk about AI changing the world like the internet did, but actually it is going to do a hell of a lot more than that. Like, now you're talking about AI making decisions that humans are able to make. So you're talking about people taking over jobs, and or AI taking over jobs and being able to make those decisions. He also made the point that actually, when you look at, if you're taking bankers and recruiters and whatever out of the work chain, like, that's a big hit on income tax for the government. And I never thought about it like that before. So if you're taking 52% income tax out of the government's coffers,
sure,
that leaves a big hole.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I mean, my own department is constantly kind of publishing research papers into where this is all going to take us. And it's absolutely true that, like, it is a statement of fact, and he's right to make this point, that the world is going to change. The world of work is going to change. But we also have to inject the positives. So if you talk about the cost that it might be in terms of an impact on tax over time, well, there's also the benefit that there can be in terms of the efficient, productive delivery of some public services. So if you take that healthcare example as well, there's so many, and I know these people, and you know these people, there's so many people who work in our health service, and they want to have more patient-facing time, and they feel sometimes overwhelmed or smothered by paperwork and bureaucracy and administration and red tape. If all of a sudden that can be taken out, and the healthcare professional gets to do more frontline facing, more patient interfacing, that's going to be good too. So I mean, this has a way to go. And what we need to do here is work our way through this, learn from other countries, continue to engage on it. But what we can't do is bury our head and kind of wish it away and say, isn't this terrible? Because whether we think it's terrible, whether we think it's great, it's here. And I think the countries that work out how best to embrace it, how best to put it to good use. I'll give you an example. When AI first started becoming a thing, I remember college lecturers saying to me, this is really going to cause problems because, how do I know someone's not cheating in the essay, right? You used to go to college and you write your essay and you do your Harvard referencing system and all that. Now all of a sudden, how do I know that wasn't AI generated? But actually what's now happened is educators will tell you they're just going to change the way of assessment. Instead of actually submitting your 5,000 word essay, you might have to submit it, but you now might have to stand up and speak to it and explain it and debate it and be challenged on it and take questions on it. So you'll come out of the education system with a different set of skills that perhaps you didn't in the past. So we will adjust, I suppose what I'm saying, and we will learn new skills, and there will be different ways of assessing an education, as an example. Do
you use OpenAI? Do you use ChatGPT? What do you use it for? Do you use it in your day-to-day?
I kind of play with it, is the honest answer, in the sense that I don't use it for work. But I enjoy sometimes asking it things, and it gets things wrong. It does show you'd be pretty foolish now to just read something out verbatim from AI. It's a handy information retrieval tool, isn't it? Like, what do you think about, and pulls information together, but then you need to fact check it yourself. And
great for holiday planning, I find.
I've seen people use it for that. What should I do with my weekend in Paris or wherever? I haven't got to use it for that yet. But no, I think it's like I play around with it.
Yeah. Right. Hands up if you have ever been in a situation where you're just not feeling well. Maybe you're a little under the weather. Maybe you're in a little bit of pain, and you're just thinking to yourself, I need to see somebody right now. We have all been there. And you need to know about the Mater Private's emergency departments in Dublin and Cork. Because when you're under the weather, being seen quickly is really all that matters. And their consultancy-led teams aim to see every patient within 20 minutes of arrival. How good is that? This streamlined approach continues right the way throughout your care. So if you do need a scan, an X-ray, an MRI or an ultrasound, they can get those tests done and the results back to you really quickly, which means your medical team can work out the best treatment plan for you as soon as possible. And that is what it's about, getting that specialist care to you without delay. Now, just a quick note, it is for over 16s only, and do remember to check the opening times. The Mater Private Emergency in Dublin is open every day, 8 to 7, and in Cork, it's Monday to Friday, 8 to 8. So if you're not feeling well and you need specialised medical treatment, remember, you've got the Mater Private Network's emergency department. Get all the details you need and a full list of services at matterprivate.ie. Sorted. All right, let's get into the social media ban, because this is the main reason that I wanted to get you on. A couple of months ago, you were talking about implementing a proposed social media ban for under 16s in Ireland. I'm in agreement with you. By the way, there's a lot of people who aren't, and actually I had Richie Sadlier in here last week, huge advocate for kids' mental health and boys' mental health, kids' mental health in general. And he said, I don't believe we should be working towards a ban at all. You're effectively punishing children for social media's inability to keep them safe online. To deny youngsters access is punishing them for the failings of platforms. And we had a conversation. It was like, you know, we've done so much plumosing, we've done so much scratching of the back of the tech companies for years, but who is regulating them and who is holding them to account in terms of keeping our children safe?
Yeah, so I sometimes regret using the word ban, right? Because I think we're all largely saying the same thing, I think. Or certainly I am. So my view of the world is...
Well, so what are you saying? What do you want?
I have a very simple view here, which I believe you can't have a drink in Ireland before a certain age.
Yeah.
Now, that doesn't mean people don't find workarounds, right? Let's not be stupid or naive or innocent. But we have said as a society that we believe it's not the norm to be having a drink before you're 18. We've said as a society we believe alcohol is something that shouldn't be had by children. So if some 16-year-old can find a way to get a gin and tonic, that doesn't mean that principle that we've set is wrong. There's lots of areas in the country where we say the cultural norm is X age. There's countless examples, right? Voting, driving, sex, drink, like loads of examples, right? Work. There's countless examples. So I think that the issue is, and this is where I think maybe the use of the word ban is maybe a negative word to try and achieve a positive objective. What we're trying to say here is to our young people, have your childhood, protect your childhood. We're watching an entire generation of people, children, who are looking down at the phone instead of looking up at each other. And my appetite first got whetted in this when in Greystone, the town I from and love very much, school principals contacted me and were really, 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 really worried about the anxiety levels they were seeing in young people. And they not me, were saying that it's smartphones in general actually were a part of it. It was really about smartphones. And they came together as a community and they brought in a kind of voluntary code where parents, not teachers, not principals, not the government, not anybody telling you what to do, parents signed up and said, we won't give our child a smartphone until they're in secondary school. The young people themselves embraced it. And I can tell you the benefit in my community is huge. You can go now to any of the primary schools and the children are so grateful that that's in place. This is the truth.
And that's the thing, when you hear about the wants and needs of kids, when kids are interviewed on this, they're all saying they don't want to be on their phones as much. They're all saying they don't want to be spending as much time on social media.
Like social media.
And yet the thing is, it's so addictive. Sure, that was that landmark case against Meta in California that that woman took that basically proved social media addiction.
And they keep on saying,
this is for, like, I know what I'm like myself as a fully functioning, well, I don't know, fully functioning some of the time, fully like functioning adult, how addictive it can be and how many hours of your life
and yet the companies will sit in and rock this committee in our national parliament and tell you it's not.
So
I mean, why is everyone doom scrolling for hours? Because there's clearly something happening. So why are we not
holding them to account?
So I will genuinely get to that, because we have to we have to hold them to account. And the irony of this and the most upsetting thing about this is these are technology companies, i.e. Richard's right here. They could apply a technological solution tomorrow if they wanted to, but they're choosing not to do it. And like social media didn't invent bullying. It's existed since civilization, right? But the bullying used to take place, and I'm sure still does, in a physical location, in a schoolyard, in a workplace. It now is in your pocket. The young people are bringing this home with them. It's there constantly. And we hear this from young people too. So there's a couple, I don't care how this happens, but it has to happen. So, and I've said this to social media companies, they could do it themselves. They could do it in the morning. They could decide, because a lot of them tell you this anyway, we have a minimum age before which you can't be on our platform, but they don't enforce it. They could do it in the morning. I'd be absolutely delighted if they just do it themselves.
But as a government...
But if they won't do it themselves, this is the enforcement bit, if they won't do it themselves, we should, in the first instance at an EU level, and we'll make this a priority of our presidency, take action in relation to an age below which you shouldn't be online social media. And if Europe won't do it, as we've made clear, and Patrick O'Donovan, our minister in this area, has made clear, we should be willing to move ourselves. And we're not alone in this. You know, I've spoken to counterparts in the UK, in France, in Greece, in countless other countries.
Yeah, but they don't have the huge headquarters of Meta like we do here in Ireland. Like, is there an issue in the fact that they are one of the biggest employers in Ireland.
No, I'm the finance minister as well as the leader of my party, and I mean I believe fully in a social media ban, and I'm determined that we go about this below a certain age, obviously, and like it's not a silver bullet, it's not a magic wand. Like, again, I'm not naive to this. If you say somebody shouldn't be on it before a certain age, well, they'll become that age, and then all of a sudden they'll be introduced to the world. So education is a part of this.
Well, that is my biggest
100%.
thing. It has to be part of the school curriculum. It has to be education, not just for the kids, but for teachers, for parents.
Yeah.
All of us need to get on board. I mean, I have no idea how algorithms work. I know how algorithms work, but all I know now is I did a documentary last year on aging, and the only thing that's fed to me now is everything is telling me to get a facelift. I spent 3 months online, but like, it's kind of funny, but it's kind of serious as well.
Too, yeah.
So now everything that's fed, all of the channels that are coming to me, right? Because I did so much research over 6 months, and that is literally all I'm being fed. Now you transfer that to a child who is suffering with body image, who is suffering with anxiety, who is suffering with, you know what I mean? And this is the insidious nature of what I don't think we realize, the devastation.
Yeah, and where I disagree with those who disagree with me on the ban, we've always differentiated between children and adults. Always. So you and I face the same, you and I, like I use social media a lot.
Yeah.
I see the pluses and I see the minuses of it, but I'm an adult, right?
Yeah.
Children aren't adults. And there is a difference. And I do not like this idea of tech companies getting to experiment with the mental health and well-being of our children. And I don't like outsourcing the mental health and well-being of children to anybody other than parents who have the responsibility for that. So, like, I think this is huge. I think this is the mental health challenge of our generation.
100%.
And we're going to look back. So, like, what I'd say to people is, let's not kind of divide ourselves into camps. Are you in favor of the ban? Or are you against the ban? Let's actually say, what are we going to do here to protect the children? I don't profess to be all knowing on this at all. But what I absolutely know is that there's a ticking time bomb going on here, and that childhood is changing in front of our very eyes.
In front of our eyes. And you talk to the experts like Richard Hogan. Have you read that book, The Anxious Generation by Jonathan Haidt?
I have not.
This is the book that basically was the catalyst to changing things in Australia. Australia were the first country to bring it in. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, it was the wife of one of the government ministers in South Australia who read the book in bed beside her husband, who was in government, brought it in, and that is how the ban came in down there.
Yeah.
And it's only in South Australia. People say it's in Australia generally, but it's only in South Australia. And
there's a lot of people slagging a lot of people say, no, it hasn't worked in Australia. They're entirely missing the point.
They're entirely missing the point.
Started.
But it's also too early to say. And I believe really strongly, people saying, oh, there's a loophole and kids will always find loopholes. At the end of the day, what you're doing is you're putting up a barrier in one way, and it's actually not what you're taking away from the kids. It's actually what you're giving them back. You're giving them back their time, and you're giving them back their sense of self, and to try and figure out who they are. Like, and I that's why I hate the naysayers.
You're way better at explaining this than I am, because this is the point. This is about empowerment. It's about empowering children to live their childhood, and it's about empowering parents to be able to say to their children, no. Yeah. This is actually, in this country, this is how we do it. Yeah. And that's a very empowering thing. So it should, that's why I again regret that I use the word ban. It's actually about just saying, what's the cultural norm here? And you're right, people will get around it. That's fine. That's not the aim here. Yeah. The aim here is to just try and press reset. But just take a breath.
And in my head in Australia, and I've read so many articles on this, if it saves one life.
Correct.
If it saves one, and we know girls' mental health particularly, and the rate of suicide in young women globally has risen so sharply. Yeah. And you know, but and I'm very aware that people listening to this, we have young kids who are not on phones yet, and I feel, thank Jesus, that in some ways we might be okay because our kids are. But like my godson, 15 years of age, right? He has grown up with social media. Yeah. He got a phone when he was 10. Yeah. Right. So to those kids, and like my friends would say to me, Kathryn, I'm not like. They couldn't live without their phones. They don't know their life without their phones. And I would hate to be in that situation.
No, this is the point.
Because that does feel nanny state, all of a sudden going, no, now you're not allowed to have everything that you've just been used to.
No, exactly. And I know how tough being a parent is, and I'd be the last person in the world to lecture any parent, and every parent does their best by their kids, right? And parenting isn't easy. But I do genuinely believe we need some sort of circuit break moment here. Yeah. We need some moment where we just say as a country, hang on, let's take a beat here. Let's breathe and let's see, where the hell are we going here? Because otherwise, we are going to look back in 20 years' time and we're going to say we failed these kids. We failed the kids. Now, it's entirely possible there's a bigger, broader conversation, as you say, about what the algorithms are feeding you and misinformation and all that jazz, 100%. But that's a different conversation. The most immediate conversation is how do we protect childhood? And we're not doing enough. And, you know, different people have different views, grand. But at least agree with me on this. We have to do something. The current status quo is dangerous.
Yeah. But people like Richie Sadlier and Richard Hogan, they all say we have to do something, but they're sick of hearing you and everybody else saying we have to do something and nothing being done.
Well, so that you can say that about me. You can say that about me in a fair few areas, but that's not the case here, right? I'm passionate about this. So we're going to legislate. So the first thing, if you believe in age verification, the first thing you have to do is have a way of verifying age. So you can't say you don't believe a kid should be on the social media before a certain age and then not have a way of verifying the age. As I said, the social media companies could do it tomorrow. They're choosing not to. So we're legislating this year.
But can we not make them?
So we're going to legislate this year for age verification. This year.
That's going to happen this year.
And Patrick O'Donovan has said that for an age verification tool. That will mean the companies are running out of excuses here.
Okay.
Because all of a sudden they can say very simply, show us your age verification. In many ways, we're having to do their job for them. Now, the other big chance we have this year, and I do think there's something going on in the world, like positive in this sense, because I hear a lot of governments talking about this in a way, quite frankly, they weren't a year ago. They weren't even 6 months ago, right?
Yeah, totally.
We have the presidency of the Council of the European Union, president of the EU, from July until the end of the year. And we've said that online safety is going to be a priority for that. So we will be having specific engagements on online safety at a European level to see if we can, like always doing something as a European level makes sense. And also, if you want to care about the companies, it makes it easier for them to have one set of rules across 27 countries than different rules. So from a economic and business point of view, that makes sense too. So preference one would be the companies just to do the right thing. Preference two, which hasn't yet happened, preference two would be to do it at an EU level, and preference three, which we can prepare for, is to do it here at a domestic level. But I'm not going to change my mind on this. And there'll be different views. There might even be different views in government. But I'm really, really clear in my view on this. I don't mind what people call it. I don't mind how we do it. I fully accept it in isolation. It's not the whole solution. But being a parent is bloody tough without actually allowing our kids be experimented with and just sitting by talking about it.
What does Saoirse want to be when she grows up?
Oh, I don't think she knows yet. She's big into sport and she's playing a lot of sport. She started playing soccer as well as she plays GAA, swimming, gymnastics. So at the moment she's loving her sport. I don't know what she wants to be when she grows up yet. Probably not a politician. Because I tell you what, I definitely know she doesn't want to be a politician, because I was bringing her to something recently. They rarely come to things with me, but every now and again there's a thing where they can come along to. And I said to her, Saoirse, do you want to come to this with me? And she said, well, are you going to be giving a speech? And I said, I don't know, I might have to say a few words. Well, if you're giving any of those silly speeches, I'm not going. So that's how I'm kept grounded at home.
I love it. My 8-year-old right now, she wants to be a teacher. But 57% of kids under at 12 want to be influencers. And that is that's the
that.
Yeah, 57%. And that just means, again, it's like, I want to, that's frightening to me.
Yeah.
That's frightening. 57%, 12-year-olds.
Yeah. I mean, that is frightening. I hadn't seen that. But you see, the other dangerous thing here is, and this doesn't just affect kids, it affects everybody. But again, kids are different to adults. It's this whole Instagram versus reality stuff. I mean, on Instagram, everyone has a perfect life. Quite amazing, isn't it? You log onto Instagram and everyone's happy, clappy, happy out, everyone's going wonderful.
Yeah.
And that's not life for anybody.
Yeah.
So,
and by the way, I can hear people probably screaming if they're listening to this out in their walk, going, you are on Instagram, you are an influencer, you use it for your business and you use it for your podcast, which I absolutely do. And I would be lost. I use it as
and I use it too.
Yeah, exactly.
Just to be clear.
TikTok. I mean, like, and I suppose I want to be very clear that this is, what we are talking about is getting kids to the age of 16.
Correct.
Learning about it and then having it open and using it in the best possible way.
Like social media is great. Like we all see the benefits.
I've just remiss to kind of not say that.
In case they're listening to this on Instagram or something. But children are different to adults is a really, really key fundamental point here.
Yeah.
And we have to do better to support them, to educate them, but also to explain to them that there is not an expectation. I think this is the point. It's about changing expectation. This expectation that they have to spend so much of their life doom scrolling and looking at the phone is something we need to have that circuit break about.
Do you know what the average age to get a phone is age 10, and the latest statistics just out yesterday, 41,000 hours of doom scrolling. That's 5 years of our life Wow. Is the average. That's for us at the moment.
That's for each of us.
Yes.
Wow.
5 years, 41,000. What are you doom scrolling at the moment? Like when you're sitting down, are you like, what's coming up for you? What's your algorithm delivering you?
News, and a lot of international news. Yeah, probably not as exciting as your stuff, but
it's not facelifts anyway.
It's not, I haven't recommended a facelift yet, but it's getting there.
Let's talk about the savings scheme. And I know this is something you're passionate about. What are you actually proposing? So give it to us in a nutshell.
So I know people, again, if they're listening to this, are going to be saying, what's your man talking about saving when there's a cost of living crisis and we're all under pressure and the price of things are going up? I get that. I really get that. And again,
reading recently how many of us don't have a pension, the number of people in Ireland who don't have a pension.
Now, we brought in auto-enrollment for pensions. Yes, so that's to end that, which is really, really important. So everybody to be auto-enrolled in a pension scheme, which I think will bring about a generational change.
Yeah.
But even acknowledging the cost of living crisis, acknowledging all the challenges, it is a statement of fact, not just my view, a statement that we are amongst the best savers in the European Union. So a lot of people listening to this, not all, but a lot of people listening to this will save small amounts on a weekly or monthly basis. It might be in a credit union account, might be in a bank account. They might, when their kid is born or their kid turns a certain age, they might decide to open an account and put in. I'm talking about small sums of money here. This is not about the uber wealthy. They can look after themselves. They don't need my assistance. But let's say...
but you did call this a middle class plan.
No, I definitely didn't. I might have called it Middle Ireland, but I'll tell you what I'm talking about. So I'm talking about these, like, I'm going to pick fictional people, but the guard married to the nurse, the civil servant married to the small business owner, the farmer married to the teacher, right? It doesn't matter. People who are playing by the rules, working hard, and still feel at the end of the week, at the end of the month, that they're struggling to get by, let alone get ahead. And they probably, not all of them, but probably have some degree of savings, right? Or are trying to put some money aside. And the reality is, at the moment, they're not really getting ahead because they're putting it in low interest deposit accounts. Now, deposit accounts have an important role to play, grand. But they're not getting, the money's not working hard enough for them. So what I want to do is set up a new investment account, which will have a certain amount that they'll be allowed to put in and invest tax-free, and that they'd only pay a very small percentage on any return above that amount.
Okay.
That instead of you having to, because most of us couldn't do this, and everyday Middle Ireland people, instead of you having to work out what's the tax liability and all this, whoever provides the account would be responsible for that too. Now, lots of countries have done this. The UK have done a version of this. Sweden have done a version of this. The Swedish one is deemed kind of best in class by the European Commission. So you would be able, and I'm going to legislate for this in the budget, be up and running in 2027. And I think not today or not tomorrow, but over 10 years, 20 years, this changes the culture in Ireland where you're actually helping people. You know, we talk a lot about we've got to build up economic resilience in the country, and of course we do. But we actually have to build up resilience in everybody's household. And this is a way of helping it.
Historically, we haven't, you know, like my sister lived in the States for 10 years and investing in this and that and shares and stocks and, you know, and I just think historically we've been fucking terrified of doing it. We don't know it. We don't know taxes. We don't know the markets.
But you see,
all we've done, if you could, is buy an investment property.
Correct, which is so in the past that's what used to happen in Ireland.
Yeah.
But of course we have a housing emergency, right? So the first thing, we want houses for young people to be able to buy, right? But secondly, it's not a good idea to run your country on the basis of the revenues earned off people selling houses to each other. We know where that took our country in the past. So this is about, like, there's no actual mystery as to why Middle Ireland have been locked out of investments. They've been locked out of it because it's been kept too complicated from them and the tax system has screwed them. That's the truth. So this is about actually saying politics isn't just about a fiver here or a tenner there. I'm not saying that's not important to people in their daily lives. But it's actually about saying, can we use the tax system to get the hell out of your way to help you make decisions that over time will build up your family's economic security? And this is one way of doing it. It's just one way, but I think it's an important way.
And what are you going to use the money for? Like, is this, like when the money comes, everyone's investing in different bits and bobs. Like, is this going to be used to build houses? What's the money going to be used for?
So in the first instance, the plan is to set up one simple product. So it'll be up to people what they choose to invest in, right? So I'm not going to start telling you what to invest or what your risk appetite is. So it'll be up to
people. Will this be on the Irish Stock Exchange?
Not necessarily, though. Again, banks will offer a variety of different products. So it'll be up to individual people to decide their risk appetite. But there is a broader point you make, which I think is an interesting one. Over time, do you want to develop further products that are specifically aimed at helping certain parts of the economy, be it housing, be it supporting Irish businesses scale, be it a specific account for your children, where you could, you know, over time, between their birth and 18 or 21, try to help them. So there's lots of options, but But priority one is just getting an account up and running because, as you say, culturally, we haven't done this in Ireland before. So this is not a light switch moment. But I want accounts to be available next year. We're going to run a very significant financial literacy program in the next couple of weeks. I'll be appointing financial literacy ambassadors. You know, in this country, we don't, and again, OECD figures show this, we don't have the levels of financial literacy that we should have. We don't talk enough about actually the way in which we can look after our own money. And we got to do a lot more around that too. So
I'm really passionate on the radio show of bringing in financial experts specifically for women as well, to ensure that women have financial freedom, financial awareness, financial education. It's so important as well.
It is. And again, because of the way caring responsibilities have traditionally been divided in our country, women have a lower tradition of saving and investment even than men. So there's a particular absolute focus that we need to put there too. But this could over time be a real game changer for people, because you could be investing your £5 or your £10 or your 20 quid or your €100, and actually it could be making you some money over the long term.
Rather than just sitting there. There's 170 billion sitting.
170 billion.
170 billion sitting in the bank.
Now, just to calm everybody, we do need a lot of that money on deposit. I'm not planning on taking all that and putting it in investment accounts.
That's what I was going to say. So if we all start taking it out.
Yeah, so this...
And then, does that mean that it's going to be more expensive for us to borrow to get mortgages? I mean, no. Jesus, nobody wants...
No one wants that. No, not at all. So what we're obviously people will continue to have their day-to-day deposit account that they use to pay the bills, pay the mortgage. So there'll be a
limit on how much you can...
There'll be a limit on how much you can put in each year. Because this is the opposite about that being about for the wealthy, right? So this will be a limit. We haven't decided the limit, but let's nominally say 20 grand a year or something might be the max. Like, there'll be a limit on how much you can put in the account each year. But there'll be a simplicity to this that hasn't existed before. And like I say, I can't claim this is my great bright idea. I've just watched this work in other countries. I've spoken to counterparts in other countries where it has made a real difference. And I think this, along with the auto enrollment for pensions, we often get accused in politics of short-termism. I think those two things, a saving and investment account and the auto enrollment for pensions, are two of those things that can make kind of a generational shift in Ireland.
Okay. A couple of other things. I put this out to my my Instagram followers as well, who I love.
Are you on social media?
Yes. I wouldn't be without it. Now, I want to talk to you about the Hot School Meals program. What do you make of it?
So personally, I love it. Different people have different
views. Do your kids use it?
Very recently. So we got it into our school about, I don't know, a month or two ago.
Okay.
And I like it.
Okay. What do you like about it?
She likes it. Being really honest, the convenience and not having to make the school lunches. That's what I like, right? So that's and I hear a lot of people critiquing this, and there's legitimate criticism, and I'm sure we'll get to that. But the idea, what are parents? Time poor, right? And the idea that you don't have to make the school lunch is a real help. Certainly in my lived experience. Right? So that's one thing I like. The second thing I like is, and we're early days on this so far, but the feedback I get from my daughter is good. It's an opt-in thing. So if I didn't like it, I don't have to opt in. If I want to continue to send the lunchbox with the sandwich and the fruit and the whatever, that's fine. So it's an opt-in thing. So no one's forcing you to do this. And then the third thing I like is certainly my experience has been there's a reasonable degree of choice. And she's trying different things and trying new things. And do you order, is it a week or 2 weeks in advance? I can't remember now, but I think it's a week.
Book it a week in
advance. You work and you pick the meals and what are you going to have on it. So I think it's good. Now I think there's some improvements we could make. I'm not sure, your listeners might shout at me on this too, because I'm not sure I'm right on this. But should it just be a hot school meal, or should there be an option of a non-hot? So it's lunch, right? And so for different people, do they want to have a hot school meal in the middle of the day, or are they having their dinner in the evening? And if they're having the dinner in the evening, would a cold lunch be better? I think is one thing. People tell me there's a fair bit of waste. But I think by and large it's really good. And you got to remember, for me, and I nearly feel kind of guilty saying it now, I talked about how it's a convenience thing, and it is, and it isn't, and I think it is for a lot of people. But for some kids, it might be the only full meal they get in the day.
100%.
And you could decide, and I hear this argument, would you not be better targeting it? It's an interesting argument, but then you're picking out the kids, and you're stigmatizing the kids, and you're differentiating the kids. Every child, there's some things we should do universal, and I think this is one, but we should be conscious that for some children, they're no longer in school trying to learn on an empty belly, and that's important.
Do you know what the one word you have not mentioned in that whole chat there?
Nutrition.
Correct.
Yeah, because I knew that was going to come up in a second.
This is my biggest bugbear, because your kids are in Greystones. My kids go to a Desh school, right? Yep. And I am a massive believer and a massive advocate of a hot school meals program for kids, as you said, particularly that might be the only hot meal that they get during the day. But if that is the case, it is our responsibility.
Yeah.
This is costing the taxpayer 300 million. If we bring it into secondary schools, 500 million a year.
Yeah.
500 million a year, right? And this was brought in by the Department of Social Protection without any consultation with the Department of Health, the Department of Children. There was guidelines in terms of the nutritional contents of the meals, but there was no regulation.
Yeah, no, that is a fair point. And you'll remember that only a couple of weeks ago, there's been a review completed into the school meals, and that is one of the things that does need to change. So I've noticed that myself, even on the meals, when I'm not a nutritionist. I don't want to start casting aspersions, and people know the school my child goes to, but like I have noticed that you do want to have healthy options. And there are some that probably couldn't be classified as that, but you also want to have, they need to be nutritious. And I do think, and again, different people have different views, and different kids will need different views. I'm not sure that everybody needs the hot school meal. Some people might choose the colder one as well, and there can be nutrition there too. So it needs to be tweaked. But what I'm pushing back against very strongly, because I'm hearing this now, and I'm hearing it from people, would you not be better off spending the money on something else? No. We should get it right.
You should get it right.
But there's always something like, people could say, could you not spend that money on something else? There was a situation, like, what's wrong with as a society saying that every single child in Ireland who goes to primary school is guaranteed a meal? I think that's a good starting point. I think it equalizes it for every child. I think it is convenient and helpful for parents who want it. And yes, it has to evolve, and yes, it has to get better. But like you now go to school in Ireland, you get free school books. You now go to school in Ireland, you get a free school meal. That's a vastly different and better school environment than the one I went
but
to.
it depends on the meal that you're getting. Like we are talking about protecting our children. We're talking about protecting our children against social, the devastation of social media and on their mental health. If we are providing school meals to kids, and Rachel Hegarty did a piece on this in the Irish Times. She did an analysis of the meal. There were 75 different ingredients in the chicken curry, and the chicken had come from Thailand, right? And this is from the biggest school supplier in the country, right? So you've got private suppliers who are obviously at $3.25 a meal. That's what they're getting for it. Possibly, and I'm not saying, but cutting corners in terms of presenting kids a meal that is profitable on their part. You don't go into business if you don't want to be profitable.
That's true.
But at the end of the day, this cannot be to the detriment of our kids' health.
No, and
you've got Donal O'Shea, who has a budget of 20 million for the obesity, like childhood obesity in this country is another issue. And you are technically, and I mean, I've been to Japan, I've seen how this has been done successfully. It has been done successfully in Europe. And I've seen, like, we are creating a takeaway culture for our kids eating out of a box. We are not supporting local farmers. There's so many ways, local businesses in local schools. There is a way to do this properly.
100%.
And I feel genuinely strongly that it was shoehorned in, coming from the right place, but done entirely incorrectly.
I agree with some of that. But can we make it better? Yes. We did a survey, my colleague, Senator Linda Nelson-Murray, we went out as a party, Fine Gael, and we asked parents for their views, and we got, I can't remember the number now, but thousands of responses. And a lot of what you said is what came back. So, I mean, we're very clear, and I have to say the government's also very clear, we are going to review the programme and try and get it right. And nutrition was one of the big things that came up. Waste was another thing that came up too. I think giving schools greater autonomy and flexibility would help.
But the schools, I talked to my school principal. They don't have the time. Like they have to procure, they have to pick the supplier, and so that all takes time. They are stretched as it is.
They are, but and I have nothing but respect for principals and teachers. They are, but this is not unimportant because a kid can't learn hungry, right? So it is worth getting this right. But I think we've come a hell of a long way. I mean, I think from going from no food in schools to every child getting a meal. Are some better than others? Is there a variance? Does there need to be improvements? Absolutely. Did that come back in the review? It did. Is it a lot of, I'm the finance minister of the country, is it a lot of money? It is. Therefore, should we be making sure we're achieving a number of policy objectives, including the Healthy Ireland objectives? Yes. We should. I'm a former health minister. I feel very strongly on childhood obesity. Like we can make the improvements that need to, but let that not be, and you're not doing this, but I hear some doing it going, schools could have a better use of the money. Schools could be better off doing this side or the other. It shouldn't be either or. One of the things that we just yesterday or recently agreed, the school meals is a great idea, but schools don't open all year round. Right. So if you accept that every child in Ireland if you accept that certainly there's some children in Ireland who need a school meal and would be hungry without it, what do you say to them in June, July and August? So what we've decided to do now is extend the school meals for the holiday period to people who are involved in what they call the July provision. So kids that might be involved in might be educationally disadvantaged or have additional needs. So that was a real gaping hole of accepting somebody needs a hot school meal, but just not.
What do they do in the summer? Yeah. But make sure the meal that you give them in the summer is going to benefit them and not impact them for life. And this is genuine. I believe so strongly about this.
No, I can tell, and you're not alone in this at all.
We are giving our kids and provided by the government, paid for by the taxpayer.
Yeah.
It needs to be good food. It needs to benefit them nutritionally, and nothing less is acceptable.
I think that's right, and I think we can achieve more than one policy aim at a time. And there's a golden opportunity here to be able to make sure our kids are well fed, but also that our kids are being nurtured from a nutrition point of view, and that's where we intend to get to. Okay,
quick fire round. Simon Harris, what's going to be here first? The Children's Hospital, Cork, Lewis, or the Dublin Metro?
Children's Hospital.
When?
It's almost there. And
we've been hearing that a while.
We have. Can you give me? I know this is a quick fire round, but you provoked me now. we have been here. We have been hearing this a while. But can I just say this? There's loads of learnings from the Children's Hospital. They've been learned. We can talk about that at length. But you know what? We are going to have a world-class hospital for children. There are so many parents who will listen to this program who will know that when they go to Crumlin, when they go to Temple Street, that their kids get excellent medical care. But there are so many parents who spend a hell of a lot of time in that hospital, sleeping on floors at night in inadequate conditions. This will transform children's healthcare. And I can't wait till this is open. And
you and the bloody rest of us.
And people actually see the benefit, because we've rightly, and I don't knock this for a moment, we've rightly had detailed discussions about the cost of it. I can't wait till we start having conversations about the benefit of it, because it's going to be transformational, and I'll be looking forward to coming back and talking about that at length then.
Will we see a united Ireland in your lifetime?
Yes.
When?
That I don't know the answer to, and we certainly won't see one if we just kind of lecture people, but if we work with people, listen to people, I think the momentum in terms of a new Ireland is there, and I really want to see that happen.
All right. Ireland is not in the World Cup. Simon Harris, who are you supporting?
I am now going to have to make this answer up because I have no clue. But I know I'm going to end up getting taken up by World Cup momentum, and by the quarterfinal will be hooked.
And one last one, Michael or Danny Healy-Rae?
Michael.
Simon Harris, thank you very much for coming into studio.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
Right. Hands up if you have ever been in a situation where you're just not feeling well. Maybe you're a little under the weather. Maybe you're in a little bit of pain. And you're just thinking to yourself, I need to see somebody right now. We have all been there. And you need to know about the Mater Private's emergency departments in Dublin and Cork. Because when you're under the weather, being seen quickly is really all that matters. And their consultancy-led teams aim to see every patient within 20 minutes of arrival. How good is that? This streamlined approach continues right the way throughout your care. So if you do need a scan, an X-ray, an MRI or an ultrasound, they can get those tests done and the results back to you really quickly, which means your medical team can work out the best treatment plan for you as soon as possible. And that is what it's about, getting that specialist care to you without delay. Now, just a quick note, it is for over 16s only, and do remember to check the opening times. The Mater Private Emergency in Dublin is open every day, 8 to 7, and in Cork, it's Monday to Friday, 8 to 8. So if you're not feeling well and you need specialised medical treatment, remember, you've got the Mater Private Network's emergency department. Get all the details you need and a full list of services at matterprivate.ie. Sorted. You've been listening to Are We There Yet? Hosted by me, Kathryn Thomas. Visual design and video edit by Stephen King O'Farrell and Connor Daly. Music courtesy of Audio Network. Series producer Paul McGregor and executive producer Sasha Hamrogue. New episodes of Are We There Yet? Are released every Tuesday morning wherever you get your podcasts, and you can also watch this episode along on YouTube. Are We There Yet? with Kathryn Thomas is an Onic original.